Hello and welcome back to How Good It Can Get. I'm your host, Andrea Rice, and today Chan and I are going to be discussing a topic around AI that is often overlooked. As we know, artificial intelligence may become one of the most powerful systems humans have ever built. And some might even say the largest psychological experiment in human history. About 8 billion people are participating in that experiment without ever signing up. And every day we interact with systems that are adapting to us and shaping how information is delivered to us. So the question isn't just what AI can do. The real question is, are we still in the driver's seat? Chin and I have been thinking about AI a lot and how basically it's kind of like one massive brain. Billions of pieces of knowledge are connected together that anyone can tap into instantly. And with this analogy, I want to ask you, Chan, is AI essentially functioning like a global brain?
Well, that's exactly what it is. It's one big brain that was meant for information, but we're facing a much bigger problem where long-term effects of AI, without having a better understanding and evolving alongside with it, if you don't have the right mindset, you can easily be swayed into your own world, which in a bigger picture will eventually create negation.
Right, that's something we've been talking about a lot lately because even though AI might be operating like one giant brain, it actually speaks to every human in a different voice. Basically, it adapts to the person asking the question. So, could two people ask the same question, and even though the response may be technically correct, the answer feels completely different to the individual?
Yes, that's what's happening from that aspect. 10,000 people ask the same question, and it gives you a basic answer, but it tailors it based on your tone, your explanation style. It basically mirrors your personality.
Right. So basically, what you're saying is even though the information is technically the same, the framing changes. And what's important about that is the framing is actually what is shaping the individual's perception. And historically, societies had some version of a shared information environment, right? We actually saw an example of this the other night talking to a couple of our friends who had had a deep, meaningful discussion about their different religious beliefs, right?
Yep.
And even though they had different beliefs, by having this discussion from two different perspectives, they saw that they had some shared commonalities and they actually created a new perspective based on that conversation and those different perspectives. But now every person is interacting with AI individually.
Yes, and if you think about it, on a human basis, that's what we do. We interact, we get different perspectives. Even if we can't agree on something, we agree to disagree, but we gain different perspectives. With AI, 10,000 people really get 10,000 different perspectives. And so over time, segregation will be an ultimate result.
And based on that, could people slowly begin living in different versions of reality?
It certainly appears so. This is not intentional by AI. It adapts to each person, reflecting to the user's perspective, reinforcing and supporting their beliefs based on their input. And one of the dangers with that is if someone is having a bad day, it can gradually lead them into a worse day. Now, it doesn't start like that because the text that you're prompting in an anxious state, it actually responds in a calm state to help you. But based on your input, if you're in a negative mindset and you continue to prompt it negatively, it will mirror what you want because of its design. And gradually, in an unintentional way, it can lead you down the wrong path.
Yeah, and that's exactly why two people can ask basically the same question and walk away with two completely different versions of reality. It's reinforcing an individualized reality. And really, none of this means that AI is bad. That's not what we're saying. It's an incredible tool. I know people that use it daily. I use it all the time as well, but it does raise really important questions about responsibility for humans. So, Chan, based on what we were just talking about, how do humans stay sovereign thinkers when they're being reinforced all this information that can steer them? And what happens if people become too reliant on AI?
Well, as we were just talking about, AI can unintentionally reinforce beliefs of each individual, and it can be in good ways or bad. And the other effect it has is AI becomes the go-to source over time because it has the least amount of friction. It doesn't judge or shame or create conflict like human interactions. But those human interactions are most often where growth takes place and new perspectives are explored. AI should assist thinking to help expand on ideas and not be a replacement for your thoughts, which actually falls on us if we're not aware of how to think clearly and how to use AI effectively.
Exactly. And you and I have talked about this a lot that the real danger with AI is not access to information. That's wonderful. We have access to all kinds of information. The real danger is people slowly making that their first stop because there is less friction there. It is easy. It's always accessible, right? But when we stop seeking out friends, family, mentors who can give us a different perspective, when we stop having those difficult conversations that push us to grow, that's when it becomes a real problem. It's not the access to the information, it's the isolation that can unintentionally follow.
Also, I'll just mention that, again, over time, our mind gradually shifts from thinking for ourselves to not thinking of at all because AI has made it so easy. And there's no reason why we need to spend time to think for ourselves. But over time, that's where we lose creativity and curiosity. When we lose those things, we also lose our purpose. And that's a whole nother conversation we could get into. But let's continue to take a look at the big picture here.
No, I'm definitely glad that you pointed those things out, and we do want to talk about that further because those are really good points. But bringing it back, let's talk about some of the real world implications. I mean, we've heard this the whole time. You just sent me an article today about more jobs being lost. People are already beginning to see jobs are not only changing, but jobs are being lost due to automation acceleration. This isn't something that we're going to have to wait years to see. We're already seeing it now. So, what happens if entire industries change or go away? Or, as some people have speculated, what happens if jobs disappear altogether?
Well, really, nobody knows. And that's the biggest issue to me. Even the evolution of jobs are currently already at a rate that we are not able to keep up with. I literally just saw an article today that showed estimates of job loss in 24 due to AI was 12,700, but in 25 it was 119,900 job losses that were directly because of AI. The top leaders and founders of AI are all talking about it. And if they're concerned and they're talking about it, I think we'd all be stupid if we don't pay attention and realize this is real and the rate at which it's occurring. Jobs being lost are one thing. And sure, they've talked about universal income, But can you imagine what that's going to look like? They can't even get a grip on Social Security, which has been a system in place, and that's only getting worse. Do we really think that's going to work? And the idea behind that is, okay, so no one has a job. AI is running everything, and they give us universal income, but that's only in the US, even if that came to life. But whoever wins would basically be responsible for all universal income. This will affect the world. Are they going to provide universal income for 8 billion people? At this point, I certainly can't speak intelligently about it, but I just thought I'd mention that as food for thought. We need to just be aware of the effects and be able to think for ourselves. But I got off track a little bit. What I really wanted to say was, without jobs, people will lose purpose. Many people have their identities tied to their jobs. I cannot imagine the level of fear this will create as this transition occurs.
It's such a high level of uncertainty right now. But when people start losing purpose, when people have their identity tied to their job, I mean, how many people do you know that have their identity tied to their job? And what happens when that job goes away? Part of their identity goes away, their purpose goes away. And for someone with a fragile nervous system, that kind of uncertainty is going to be completely overwhelming. I mean, fear of the future, loss of identity, lack of control. These are all things that can weigh on a very fragile nervous system. And while some people will adapt in this new environment, there are a lot of people that will actually just spiral under that uncertainty. There's a lot of things that are out of our control. We cannot control how fast AI evolves or what direction it goes into. We can't control what technologies are built. That seems to be happening with a very select group of people who are racing to the top. But there is something that we all can still control. So, in this new era of AI, what skill matters the most?
From our own purpose, it's what we preach every day. It's clarity, having a clear, strong, healthy mindset so we can think for ourselves, so we can stay in control, so we can stay aware, so we can recognize what we can control and what we can't. And certainly, I mean, if we're not aware, we're sure to have a more chaotic road ahead that's filled with fear, anxious thoughts, and uncertainty. And until we get a handle, we simply won't be able to think clearly of the next steps to be taken.
And to that point, a lot of the information coming out around AI is fear based, and we are not here to push any kind of fear. What we're trying to say here is that in order to move forward in the best way possible, having a mindset where you can think clearly, you can make good decisions, you can be creative, that all comes from having a strong mindset that is not based on fear. So as we move on, I do have a question for you, Chan, that I know is one of your favorite questions to ask people that you meet. And that question is, what do you think the ultimate purpose of life is?
Yes, I do have a favorite question because I'm always seeking. I tend to ask, what do you think the ultimate purpose of life is? And for me, the answer has been to pass down information to the next generation. I've actually only come across one other person so far that gave that exact answer. The way I see it, it would be like finding the cure for cancer and not sharing that knowledge. But on a more realistic level, finding ways to make life easier, more effective techniques, and not passing it on to your children. Likewise, I think it is our duty to show the importance of a healthy mindset a mind that is clear, a mind of clarity as a foundational necessity that will improve all aspects of your life, not just AI.
And if the purpose of life is to pass down information, then every generation has to decide what information actually gets passed down. Is it wisdom, thinking frameworks, emotional regulation, discernment? And as we said earlier, in this new time of AI, one of the most important things you can do is remain clear. So, passing down that information and how to remain clear may be the most important thing we can do right now. We're entering a time where information itself may become almost infinite. AI can generate answers instantly, information is everywhere, knowledge is in abundance. So the advantage is no longer access to information. That's not the advantage anymore. The advantage for people today and their children and their great grandchildren is going to become clarity of mind. And this realization is something that actually changed our mission in a way. And that mission is something that we've started calling the clarity mandate. So, Chan, can you briefly discuss what the clarity mandate is and why it has become so critical to our mission?
The clarity mandate came out of the realization that the evolution of AI is at such a rapid rate that there is no way humans can possibly keep up. And without clarity to recognize and be aware of the possible effects of AI, we really don't stand a chance. And listening to the founders and leaders themselves, literally saying we lack safety and the possibility of not having control and the possibility of AI being self-sufficient without the necessity of humans. I think that's a scary thought for anyone. So the clarity mandate is an effort and a necessity for all humans to be taught these foundational skills that really should have taught like math or English. And now it's even more urgent with AI advancing at such an exponential rate. We have to do something, and it has become a critical mission to make sure we stay human and maintain ourselves as a society. We can't allow it to take our thinking, take our emotions. And again, it's not that it was meant to do that. So it really comes down to being our responsibility to make sure that doesn't happen. And so the clarity mandate is the only solution of its kind today.
Thank you, Chan, for describing what the clarity mandate is at a high level. And on the next episode, we're going to actually explore in a little bit more detail what the clarity mandate actually is and why clarity of mind may become one of the most valuable human skills of the next century, and how people can start strengthening the one system they still have control over, and that is their mind. Because if the purpose of life really is to pass down information, then maybe the most important thing we can pass to the next generation is the ability to stay clear, calm, and sovereign in a world that is changing at a rate that has never seen before. If you would like to learn more about the Clarity Mandate, we do invite you to go to howgooditcanget.com/clarity. And please join us for the next episode as we dive deeper into the Clarity Mandate and why it is so important now and has become a focus of our mission. Thank you.